Abi gidemiyorum. Geri mouse kontrol edemiyorum.
Study Box.
Welcome and good morning to the eStudy Box webinar in conjunction with the Near East University Faculty of Economics and Administrative Sciences. eStudy Box is a digital educational platform of NEU supporting lifelong learning online, offering various courses, online live events, webinars, and services such as translation, proofreading, and data analysis. To join this webinar and receive your participation certificate, I would like to guide you through the registration process. So this is our website, eStudyBox, e-studybox.com. And to sign in, you have to go to the blue box on top. If it's your first time, please register from the bottom. And while you're registering, use the name that you would like to have on your certificate, not a nickname, preferably your own name and surname. Once you do register in, you will be able to access to the more than 2,000 courses that are available for you, all come with a certificate of participation. But for now, we will be joining in with Enlightened Leadership for the 21st Century with Professor Dr. Kadir Sayem and Marzuki Mohammed. I would like to give a little bit of information about them, but first let's say hello. Welcome, hocalarım.
Hello.
Hi,
Morning.
welcome.
Hello.
Good morning. Good morning. Lovely morning from Cyprus. I would like to introduce Ms. Sayem, Associate Professor Dr. Sayem, Faculty of Economics and Administrative Sciences. Kadir Sayem is Associate Professor in Human Resources Management at Near East University in Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. Her main research interest is in the broad field of international employment relations, focusing particularly on the interaction between cross-border policy transfers in multinationals, national employment systems, and micro-level influences in less advanced countries. She has also published and taught in teamwork, role-playing, and careers. Her work has appeared in such journals as Human Relations, International Journal of Human Resource Management, International Journal of Forecasting, Technological Forecasting and Social Change, Transfer, European Review of Labor and Research, and Innovations in Education and Teaching, among others. She has lived and worked in Turkey, Netherlands, and Mongolia before TRNC, and the future we will see. Welcome, Hocam.
Thank you.
And as for Mr. Marzuki Mohammed, he is certified neurosemantics and NLP trainer, associate certified meta coach. He has extensive experience in the field of human capital development. He's not only a dynamic and resourceful instructor of international standing, he's also skilled in the management and leadership of organizations with international experience in the field of construction. Marzuki is a certified neurosemantics, this is difficult for me, and NLP trainer and associate certified meta coach by the International Society of Neurosemantics. He's also a member of the international leadership team of the International Society of Neurosemantics. Apart from Malaysia, Marzuki has conducted seminars, talks, and courses in the United States of America, United Kingdom, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. Furthermore, other than organization in Malaysia, he has the good opportunity to serve Italian Thai Development Company in Thailand, Hyundai Construction Company, Port of Singapore Authority, Housing Development Board in Singapore, and the Public Work Department of Vietnam. He is actively involved in enhancing the performance and developing the human capital of corporations through training, coaching, and consulting. He's currently the Chief Executive for AL Advancement of Human Potential. Thank you and welcome to our webinar, Mr.
Thank you.
Marzuki, Enlightened Leadership, Leadership for the 21st Century. Hojam, I leave the word to you.
Yes, so this is how we're gonna do. Mr. Mazuki has kindly prepared some presentation for you guys, and then he's gonna be talking through them. And he's got a couple of points, and after every point, I might ask some questions, paraphrase, or if you have any questions, we might raise them. We've got a total of about an hour, so we're going to try and stick with the time limit. Other than that, I think it's going to be a very interesting presentation. And without further ado, I just leave the stage to Mr. Marzuki. Mr. Marzuki, please.
Thank you, Professor. And I would like to say welcome to everyone who's here. It is such a pleasure and honor for me to be with you, to be invited by the university. And it is a pleasure for me to be speaking to all of you, whether you're on Facebook or on YouTube. It is a pleasure to meet you here. And I hope that in the time that we are together, you'll be able to gain some value, some usefulness from the discussion. So I'd like to welcome you to this topic on enlightened leadership, the leadership of the 21st century. Just checking whether right now, if I may have yes, we have the screen. So thank you very much with that. Now, in the 60 minutes together, we'll be discussing on what is enlightened leadership. The main point is leaders need to get their psychology right. The third main point is assumptions about human nature. And if we have time, then I'll be contrasting the leadership styles. Now, before I continue on, just to give you a little bit of a warning, my style is to be light and humorous. So if I laugh or smile, I'm never laughing at you, but at our silly human qualities. My purpose is to lighten things up, to reduce being serious and be more real. So with that warning to you, let's get started then. So the first point is just a little bit of introduction to this topic. When we talk about leading, what we want to be able to distinguish as leaders, that we need to do both leading and managing. One is not enough. We need to be doing both. It's just that as leaders, we need to have a clear demarcation between the roles that we play. So very quickly, let's take a look. When we talk about managing, it is about handling, supervising, or controlling materials and processes. Now, what about leading? Leading is about communicating and relating with people and influencing them in mutually enhancing ways. I'll repeat that, mutually enhancing ways to achieve a desired objective. So the question that comes to mind is, what are the problems that leaders face in dealing with people? So I'd like to remind you that leaders, their job is to manage talent, acquire talent, retain talent, and engage talent in the organizations. Now, the issue is that many leaders They take the industrial approach of management by stereotyping people. Maybe you've come across the stereotype of generations. People talk about baby boomers, Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, millennials, and so on. And then there's also the personality stereotyping, whether it is MBTI, personality plus, DISC, or colored brain, and so on. Now, the issue is that if you are managing by stereotyping people, the consequence is that you, as a leader, you are not leading. So that's the issue. The consequence is that when leaders are stereotyping people, they are not leading. And that is why in today's world, we keep hearing the great resignation, quiet quitting, lying flat. So all of this comes up when leaders do not lead. And when leaders fail to realize that people are individuals, they try to manage people. And guess what? People don't like to be managed. So, from the perspective of neurosemantics, we need to realize that real leadership is personal, intimate, and intense because it requires you as the leader to build individual relationships with the people that you are in contact with directly, one on one. So, real leadership is personal, intimate, and intense. It is not about managing types, it is not about managing roles. Many managers shy away from leading because they are in the dark about the skills for understanding individual human beings. Enlightened leadership is about understanding the individuals that you lead and leading them in the way that they require to be led in the moment. Enlightened leadership is not about some mystical or esoteric spiritual state that a leader must attain. No, enlightened leadership is about leaders who are enlightened about human nature and they understand people. Leaders who are enlightened about human nature and leaders who understand people. When we say understand people, we are referring to understand the people's needs and drives, the cognitive functioning, the developmental drives, the highest self-actualization drives. So this, I hope, will give you this definition of what I'm referring to as enlightened leadership. Leaders who understand human nature and understand people, their needs and drives, their cognitive functioning, their developmental drives, and their highest self-actualization drive. So that is what I would consider as the introduction to this topic. So I'll just pause here in case, Professor, you want to add anything to it. So everyone, are you okay with that? Yes.
Thank you very much for this. I think this question might come further as we go along, but I have a question for you from one of our
Yes.
viewers. You did say authentic self, but the comment is sometimes they feel as if they're not respected when they're being happy and joyful and intimately interested in their life. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
Again, I didn't quite catch that.
When leaders are involved with the people that they work with intimately and with the human nature of themselves, they're not respected.
Yeah, people might feel like they are their personal lives are interfered. Perhaps they do not I mean, that seems like a cultural question. Sometimes people do not like that level of interest, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. So this
Maybe
is
you're
this
gonna
is
address this question later on.
Yes, I will address this question later on. It's just that since this question has cropped up, we need to realize uh, what I'm referring to. It is personal and intimate. We are
Mhm,
referring to the professional relationships that you have. We are
mhm.
not talking about going into the personal relationship. If with
Exactly.
that person allows you to go into personal relationship, that's okay. However, when we talk about professional relationships, it's about you connecting human being to human being, not
Mhm,
as manager with subordinate, not just that.
mhm.
Yes, there is that part of manager and subordinate. It is also that part of you as a human being. You a manager, you are a human being, and your subordinate is also a human being, to be able to connect at that level.
I see.
Okay,
Yes, that's a very good explanation, Mr. Marzuki. Please continue.
thank
I'm
you.
listening with great interest.
Right. Thank you. So let's move on uh, to the next what do you call it? Next point. What we refer to as enlightened leadership. Now, Abraham Maslow called for a new kind of leadership. He called it enlightened management for self actualizing leaders who would call forth the best from people. And when they do this, they would create self actualizing companies. So, when we talk about self actualizing leaders, we look at self actualization psychology. It reveals a completely new side of humanity. It is the side that is seldom seen before and was not even anticipated by the old psychologists. When we talk about old psychologists, we are referring to the darker side of human nature, the side of unhealth, illness, and pathology. The new psychology studies, the new psychology over here we are referring to is the study of the bright side of human nature. In this new psychology, people are seen in a new light, in the light of their highest needs, their potentials, and their untapped human capital of intelligence and creativity. Using self actualization psychology, self actualizing leaders understand the highest and best in human nature. Abraham Maslow's view of human nature led to Theory Y, as articulated by Douglas McGregor. Maslow and McGregor and those who followed them said that people not only want these experiences, they thrive on them and actually need them. They need them to be psychologically healthy. The self actualization drive motivates all people as they meet their basic needs and opens them up to the level of self actualization. So, looking at the theory why of leadership from Abraham Maslow and McGregor, we begin to understand and identify. One is that people want to be trusted and be trusted. And as I go through these points, I want you to ask yourself, do you want this? Do you want to trust and to be trusted? So theory Y of leadership begins there. And also, we know that people want to be responsible and take ownership of their work. People want to be challenged and stretched. People want to be recognized as unique and understood for themselves, not as stereotypes. People want to collaborate and cooperate. People want to be a part of a winning team, to be a part of a community. People want to use their talents to develop their talents. And we have some more that people want to work. whenever I come to this point, I remember there was a time when one of my grandchildren, oh, by the way, if you are not, you may not be familiar, I've not mentioned that. I'm a father of five and grandfather of 10. So when one of my grandsons, he was about 2 at the time, and he used to notice that his puppy would vacuum the house to keep the house clean. Now, at the age of about 2 or 2.5, related to these people want to work. Whenever his puppy comes to vacuum the place between the TV and the sofa, that's his place. That's where he plays. So whenever the puppy comes with a vacuum cleaner, he'll stop puppy and grabs hold of the vacuum cleaner and vacuums that place. So that is the drive in human being. People want to work. Next one, people want to know and to be in the know, to learn. People want to make a difference. People want to contribute to create solutions. People want to be valued for their work, to take pride in workmanship. And people want to make decisions appropriate to their level of activity. So, this theory Y of leadership is what drives the enlightened leader. And when you deal with people from these mindsets, from these beliefs, the way that you lead people will be different. So, as a result, during the last half of the 20th century, there has been a call for a new kind of leader. There's been calls for leaders who go beyond relying on the traditional patterns of power and status. Leaders who move beyond command and control to influence and leading by trust, respect, and integrity. These are leaders who collaborate, co create, and participate. These are leaders who serve the higher vision or purpose that are bigger than money and things. These are leaders who focus on quality, service, values, relationships, participation, new ways for people to work together, synergistic, openness, learning, personal responsibility, respect and dignity, trust, and self renewing system. So these are what I'm referring to as the enlightened leadership, driven from the theory of the best in human being. And the key thing about human being is that the way that you think about them is the way that you will treat them. And when you treat them in a certain way, they will respond to you in the way that you think that they are. So when we talk about theory X and theory Y of leadership, when in the past people have been operating from theory X, so that's why they are getting the results that they were getting, because they were thinking that people are stupid, people are lazy, and because of that, that's how people will behave. So coming from the theory Y of leadership, knowing that we are leading people from their highest potential, this is how we tap into the highest potential. So let me just pause there and allow some questions or comments uh, uh, from Professor. Go ahead. Yeah.
To motivate as motivation theories, but you have applied them to leadership, which is very enlightening in a way. So I'd like to thank you for that. And about these, are you going to at some point mention the personalities of leaders who might be able to use theory Y rather than theory X? Does it have any relationship, perhaps?
Okay. Yeah. So what I will do is that in the next point, I will be talking about the kind of psychology that leaders need to take. Because what we realize is that personality is a state. It is not as a trait. So when you have the right mindsets, you create the right states in order to lead people.
Mm.
So this is where you are not stuck. You are always in a fluid dynamics with the people. The key thing that drives is the mindset, is the beliefs that you have about people. So that's why what I'm focusing for today is
Mm.
in terms of the psychology and the assumptions that we have about human nature. So when we talk about assumption, I couldn't help hearing just now while we were discussing, I could hear the uh, uh, dog barking in the background. I had a neighbor, and I'm glad that uh, uh, the dog is not there anymore. However, this neighbor, he had a dog which is on a leash 24/7, tied to a tree just outside of the house.
Oh dear.
And I could see that the dog was running around and round and round the tree as if it was crazy. And that to me gives an indication of how your people will treat you. Because the owner of that dog treated the dog as if the dog is stupid, the dog doesn't know anything, doesn't allow the dog to move, and the dog became crazy because of that. And
Yep.
when we leaders have the wrong psychologies about the people that we lead, we drive our people crazy. So that's
Spot
why
on.
I would like to move.
Spot on.
I would
Yes,
like to
please.
I would like to move to the next point, which is on the leaders need to get their psychology right. Because when we get the psychology about people wrong, we drive them crazy. So
Indeed.
allow
Yes.
me to move on to the next
Please.
topic,
Please.
which is uh, leaders need to get their psychology right. So the first one, uh, if I can have the screen, uh, just waiting for the screen to come up. Are we there yet? So let me just move on. Leaders need to get their psychology right. And the first point is that yes, to lead in a self-actualizing way, you first have to get your psychology right. Achieving competitive success through people depends on how you think of people, the workforce, the relationships. If employees are disgruntled, it is hard to create good service and high performance. The second point is each leadership style and kind is based on different psychologies, different assumptions about human nature. Your premises about people, about human nature, about how to work with, motivate, organize, align, and work with and through people determines your philosophy and leadership style that you will use and operate from. And the third point over here is that leadership is psychological and sociological. You can effectively lead without an accurate and adequate understanding of human nature. To lead people effectively and healthily, you have to understand people, their nature, their psychology, their needs, their dreams, their highest drives. If your psychology is off, so will your leadership. If your psychology is off, you will misunderstand people and misread people and often be shocked by them. So, what are your assumptions about people and human nature? What do people need? What motivates them? So that's why we come to this next point about on the assumptions about human nature. And when we talk about assumptions about human nature, we are going to look at it from seven different dimensions. First dimension is the dimension of human behavior. Next one is motivation, then emotion, then cognitive, then moral, intention, and also relational. So we are going to compare and contrast uh, the psychologists, the theory X and theory Y, with respect to these different categories. So let's get going over here. Now, behaviorally, theory X states that people are lazy, dependent, and passive, blames, refuses to take action. However, from theory Y, behaviorally, we understand that people are energetic, able to be independent and interdependent, active, at choice, proactive, and responsible. They want to work and be involved, want to be active, and mutually accountable. Now, before I continue on, I just like to make this point. If you want to see the best example of theory Y at work, look at the human beings who have not been diminished. Look at little children. So notice what I've listed down as theory Y. Notice how it fits in with them because their, I will use the potentials have not been diminished yet. So this is behaviorally. So let's take a look at the next one. Motivationally, theory X states that people don't want to work. They hate to work, are compliant, prefer to be obedient to authority, don't want to be responsible. They are self-centered, driven by self-interest, don't want to be challenged. They are defensive, rigid, resistant to change, and they work exclusively for money. Does that sound familiar? Now, theory Y looks at motivationally, people are response able. They have the power to respond. Social interest, able to collaborate, love challenges, and will rise up to a challenge. Open, wants to learn, embraces change, wants to be accountable, have self-direction. And they also want meta pay too. Meta pay refers to the benefits that they get from doing the work, not just the salary or money. That's motivationally. In the area of emotionally, theory X states that people are driven by fear, and that is why we see that through ages, human beings have been leading human beings using fear. You don't do this, I'll punish you. If you do this, then I will reward you. Theory X goes on to say that people cope by secrets, distrust, aggression, cope by competition, want upmanship, want things to stay the same, want to maintain the status quo. However, theory Y, we notice that people are driven by learning, meaning making, meaningfulness, challenge, inspiration, copes by sharing, cooperating, trusting, connecting, building partnerships, embraces change and disequilibrium. Cognitively, theory X states that people are closed. They don't want to think, don't have the intelligence, creativity to solve problems. They don't want to think about the future. They just need rules and threats to motivate them. Yet, from theory Y, we understand that people want to think, understand, study. This little point for those of you, especially for those of you who have little children, when they come to the age of, I think about 3 or 4, how many of you notice that that's the time that they drive you crazy by asking the why question. Why, mama? Why do we do this? Why, daddy? Why do we do this? Yeah. So this is where what we are referring to. People want to think, they want to understand, they want to study, they want to use intelligence, develop creative answers, they anticipate trends and look for the future. They want hopes, dreams, vision, possibilities, growth, and innovations. That's from the cognitive perspective. Morally, what drives people from theory X, they say that what drives people is this low sense of conscience and morality. So that's why you have to control them. Yeah, distrustful, paranoid, distrust people, unethical, immoral, and prone to lie, cheat, steal, are dishonest, secretive, hiding, distrustful, aggressive, violent, dangerous, and aggression is characterological. Now, that's from the theory X. However, we also have discovered that from theory Y, that people, yes, they have a high sense of conscience, ethics, values. They trust and is trustworthy, conscientious, and want to be ethical, driven by good intentions, and they use anger as a positive emotional signal instead of being driven by anger, and aggression is reactive and situational. This is because aggression and anger is used as feedback mechanism to tell them about a value that is being violated instead of a triggered response. Now, the next one, intentionally, we are looking at theory X. People want peace, equilibrium, they want power over others, they don't believe or want to be creative. Now, in theory Y, we notice that people want disequilibrium. Disequilibrium meaning that they want change, they want something new. They do not want to have the same thing. They want power with others. They are creative, playful, and inventive. And from the perspective of relational, we are looking at theory X saying that people dichotomizes their world, they compete with others, whereby from theory Y, the best potentials from human being is that we see that people want to create a synergistic world that is holistic, and they want to cooperate and collaborate with others. So these 2 points that I've brought to you, when we look at enlightened leaders, when we have the psychology of people right, operating from the psychology of good health rather than ill health, then what we are doing is we are um, instigating, we are influencing people to bring out the best in themselves. Now, when a leader puts on the theory X of people, puts on the psychology of the dark side of human nature, and attempts to control people from that nature, that's when their leadership starts to fall apart. My One of my most, I would say, wonderful experiences when because my background was in engineering. I was working in engineering for 12 years as a professional engineer before I moved into training. And when I started doing training, uh, for first 2 years I was just training school children how to study well, and I could see this happening in the classroom with school children, because many people say, oh, how do you control those children to get them in to get them to listen to you, to sit still, to obey what you have, is that not difficult? I say, no, it's not difficult. I just appeal to their best nature, and that's what I have in the learning classroom. So this is where, as leaders, we want to be particularly aware about how we are thinking about people. There is this theory X and theory Y. When you use theory Y, the worst of the behaviors in people will come out. They will come out. When you think about people from the best potentials that they have, those are the potentials that as leaders you are instigating, um, you are promoting to them, and those are the behaviors that will come into the workplace, and that will power them. So let me just pause there for now, just to invite any questions or comments that you may have. Maybe there are some comments in the studio. So let me just pause over there for questions and comments.
Mr. Marzuki, we have a question
Yes.
from our students. Theory Y tries to be a leader for theory X, and that is a problem. Those kind of people who are more open, more holistic, like you have described, trying to lead for people from theory X. They are not understood, they are not received, and they cannot lead. In this situation, what should be done?
Can you please read the question again? I don't quite get it. Yeah.
Um, I think it's a new generation of leading, maybe more holistic. Uh, People who prefer theory Y cannot lead the people who prefer theory X, and it causes conflict, probably no respect as well at the same time. How do you manage a situation like that?
No, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Thank you. Now, so we talk about enlightened leadership, about bringing human beings to another level. Now, why this enlightened leadership is the kind of leadership that we are over the last 20 years is coming to the fore, because previously people have been operating from the old school of leadership. So my next point, I will be contrasting between the old school of leadership and the enlightened leadership. Now, allow me to paint you the picture. When people continue to lead from theory X, we just need to take a look at human history, how human beings have been cruel, have been, I would say, behave badly towards other human beings. Yeah. You look at leadership. One of the things that I love watching are documentaries about human history. Throughout human history, humans have been behaving badly during. If I were to start at during the Viking era, the Mongolian era, the even one of the last shows that I saw on Netflix is about the last kingdom during the in England, how people are cruel to one another, and even today we see that cruelty happening in Europe. You have Russia attacking Ukraine, so that's also another example of how human beings can be so cruel towards other human beings. And all of these are driven by the psychology that human beings are stupid, they are lazy, and because of that, I have to control them. Now, from what we have been talking about, the psychology of the bright side of human nature, noticing what's the best in human nature. So those are what came out through theory Y. So when we think about human beings in those ways, that they have all of those potentials, and all of those potentials want to come out. So when we lead people from that, that is when the best of human behavior comes out. Now, the key thing is this: human beings, they don't know how to become human beings. They need to learn how to be a human being. Yeah. Animals, they don't need to learn how to be an animal. A cat is never confused that it is a cat. A dog is never confused that it is a dog. However, a human needs to learn to be humans. Yeah. That's why we have many examples of feral children being raised by dogs, being raised by other animals. And because of that, they take on the behavior of their so-called parent. Yeah. Humans need to learn to be human. So the baby that you give birth to, you need to teach the baby how to become a human being. As Abraham Maslow puts it, the self-actualizing person is not the person with something added. It's the person with nothing taken away. So what we need to realize is that the potential for greatness is there. As Dr. Buckminster Fuller puts it, human beings are born geniuses. This is not the direct quotation, but I paraphrase Bucky Fuller. It's just the parents spend the next 6 years of the child's life de-geniusing the child. Because the potential wants to come out, the parents prevent that potential from coming out, the child becomes less. I don't know about you in over there in Turkey, but here in Malaysia, parents become so protective of the child. The child begins to walk. Oh, careful, careful, careful! You fall down. The child wants to climb. Careful, careful, careful! Don't climb. You'll hurt yourself. Yeah, that's how my eldest granddaughter, she learned how to climb before she could even walk, because she wants to be mobile. She doesn't know how to walk yet. She went to the grill that we have in the house to prevent what you call animals from coming in, but we want to keep the door open, so we have the grill. She went there, she crawled there, and she started climbing. So what I did was, oh, she wants to climb, so I just put myself right underneath her with my hand ready in case she falls down. I not prevent her from falling down. I just want to prevent her from hurting herself. So that's how she learned how to climb before she can walk. So this is what we are referring to. The best of human nature is there. We need not put it into the child. We just need it to develop. The issue is that when people are operating from theory X, they try to put in things that are not in the child. So the example that I can't remember, it was Michelangelo or somebody, he gives the example. A child that is born is just like a child comes to you just like a block of stone, just like a block of stone. The child is already there. If it is a university professor inside, it could be a university professor inside there. It could be a musician inside there. It could be a circus performer inside there. However, the issue is this: parents, when they receive the child, oh, I'm going to turn this into a university professor, not knowing there's a gymnast inside there. And begin shaping the child into a professor, what ends up is neither a professor nor a gymnast. So this is where we are coming from. We are talking about self-actualization psychology. So as leaders, we want to look at the people that we lead and ask ourselves, so what's the best version of this person? And how I can let that best version come out? Because when humans are able to bring the best version of themselves, that's when they are gratified. As Abraham Maslow puts it, a musician must make music. A poet must write. When people are prevented from bringing out the best in them, that's when they go into psychotic behaviors, just like the dog at my neighbor's house. He became psychotic because the nature of a dog is to run, is to scratch things, is to make holes here and there. But prevented from doing it, that dog became psychotic. So this is where approaching people from self-actualization psychology, understanding that the potential, I don't know what's inside there. And I, as the leader, my role is to help this person become the best that they can be. And when they are over here, they're helping me to achieve organizational goal. So that's where one of very powerful tool, or I would say, yeah, powerful skill that leaders today, self-actualizing leaders today need, is the skill of coaching. To be able to coach the best behavior from a person so that they can perform the task that they've been given using the potentials that are within them. So there is no issue about uh, if you are a leader running theory Y, and you have what we call staff who's having theory X in their mind, there is no issue there, because when you are connected professionally, human being to another human being, that's when you are instigating. I'll use the word instigate. A leader, you are instigating the best in a person to come out. Does that make sense? Sometimes I get over enthusiastic.
No, it's wonderful the way you're explaining. I totally agree, but I think maybe they have to accept the fact that they have to be able to open up and be open to be led. Otherwise, I think the question was they don't respect you and they put you down, no matter how enlightened you are or how much you want them to be in their best. And of course, gain profit to the company, so the company can gain as well. But if you have a group of people who do not want to be led the way that you are in an enlightenment or theory Y road, then it's to be doomed, not to be successful, isn't it?
Yes, I would agree with what you said. At the same time, as a leader, there are many more skills that you need to bring in, because you are never one leader to everyone. You are at different levels, at different people, depending on the relationships that you have. So let's say you are a positional leader, and there is no rapport between you and the person who's following. So the key there is rapport. So that's why at that particular situation, then there is that resistance. And in neurosemantics, we say that resistance is a sign of lack of rapport. So all that you need to do is to build that rapport. How do you build the rapport? By building relationship. So as you build relationship, and then you begin to demonstrate your competencies in the area of the work that you are doing, then you are bringing people up the levels of relating. As you go up the levels of leadership, John C. Maxwell, he talks about the levels of leadership. First level is positional leadership. That is the least effective level. Then the level of permission leadership. Then you go up the next level, which is the level of production leadership, productivity. Then reproduction, and the highest level is personhood leadership. So you are at different levels with the different people in the organization. The staff who just joined doesn't know you yet. So you are at the positional level of leadership. Until the staff begins to know your competencies and then gives you permission to lead. So that's why I say the first part about leadership is to build that relationship. Once you build that relationship, you are building rapport, then you will earn the permission of being leader. So that's why in a lot of organizations, when leaders try to manage people, not developing the relationship, so they are only at the positional level. So that's why they are experiencing pushback or resistance. So as leaders, we need to develop the levels of relationship from uh, 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 from resistance, bringing up to compliance, bringing up to cooperation, and then bringing up to the level of engagement. So those are the different levels that show the quality of the relationship that you have with your people. So the reason why many leaders are failing in that area is they fall into the trap of managing work work productivity without building the meaning of work. Meaning is leading, productivity is managing. So leaders need to do both. You cannot just lead through meaning and not having the competency. So you are just having a good time without any without any productivity. So you want to bring the competency and the meaning making together. So this is at the core of self actualization, to be able to rise up to your highest level meaning and to use your best competencies in achieving the work that you do. And from my experience working with a lot of organizations, is that the mistake that most leaders make is they are not developing the relationships, and because of that, they are not developing the meanings, the higher level meanings about the work that people are doing. They are just pushing productivity through KPIs, and because of that, there is that pushback from people, that resistance. Know that people work for the organization for different things. And when you build the relationships, you begin to understand what are the reasons why people work for you. Some people, they just want the money. So find ways and means that they can have that. Some people work for that, work in an organization because they like it here, because people are, these people are like me. I like being, so create that environment. Some people, they want to have a certain purpose. This organization is an organization that stands for human integrity. And this is what I want to fight for, and be able to use the meaning-making faculty in order to provide that. So these are what we refer to as meta pay. The pay that people get, the benefits that people get beyond the salaries that they are getting. Yeah. And just know that some people, they join first at the level of salary. That's well and good. So this is also where some leaders, I'll use the word, they shoot themselves in the foot, because they want to build a higher level meaning. This is a university where we contribute for the betterment of mankind. You want to work here merely for the money. So why you should be doing for something greater? I mean, for that person who's just starting to work and they have a lot of family members to to support, money is very important. And let the person know how they can make as much money as they can while they are working here. So to be able to provide for people according to what they need. The issue is that if you don't connect with them, you will not know what they need. So you assume. The moment you assume, that's when you get wrong. So that's why leadership is personal, it's intense. It has to be that.
I'm just conscious of the time. So shall we
Yes.
continue? It's already 11 o'clock.
Yes. So we since we are at the time there, I believe we can end over here.
Oh,
Yes,
you don't have
it is
anything
a.
else?
I do
Your
have something
presentation?
else. If you want me to just show, is actually the final slide.
Okay.
Would
I think
yeah?
we've
Would you
got
like?
time to finish with the last slide.
Okay, okay, I'll
Yeah,
do
let's
that.
continue and
Yeah.
finish in about 5 minutes. That's fine, I think.
Yes, we can do that. Thank you very much. Uh, So this is the final slide to contrast the leadership style I mentioned to you earlier. The old model versus the new leadership model. The old model is the military style. Notice on the screen on the left-hand side, the military leadership, because previously how we learn about leading is from how soldiers lead military. So that's why we call it military leadership. Notice the styles of leadership. There is authoritarian, traditional, military metaphor. Leaders act on followers. Leaders set vision. People to buy into it. Leaders create policies and structures. Micromanaging, top-down, bureaucratic, slow to adopt change. Leaders instruct. It is fear-based and power status focused. Why? Because it is derived from theory X. So that's why we have this kind of leadership. So the question that I want to ask from you to be thinking about is that, do you like this kind of leader? If you have a leader who treats you in this way, do you feel fulfilled in the work that you do? Yeah. The contrast that we want to bring, the new leadership model, is the self-actualizing leadership, meaning to say, I, as a leader, I am also in the process of becoming better and better on daily basis. So I don't treat you as a minion. However, I treat you as a co-creator in my life. So the style of leadership for the self-actualizing leadership is coaching, is facilitative. I'm facilitating the best potential inside of you in order that together we can achieve the organizational objective. We use systems metaphor, the metaphor of network, the metaphor of dance. There is mutual influence. It is a continuous process, and leaders listen first. We have shared vision that arise from dialogue, and leadership is participative. There is dialogue, the thinking together, coordinated action, validating differences, to accept there are differences, validate differences, to appreciate uniqueness, because that becomes empowering for both instead of one way. There is community of action, there is systemic thinking, and there is flexibility, quick to adapt, because we are working together. Leaders coach, tap into human intellectual capital, because the amount of intellectual capital that you are bringing out into the world right now is far less than what you are capable of. So that's why leaders coach, to be able to help you to bring out the best inside of you, and become the best person that you can be. And the self-actualizing leadership is vision based, it is hope based, and it is based on conversation and dialogue. So that's the final slide that I have. So I hope that by contrasting the old leadership model with the new leadership model, it gives you that idea of how we can move on from here. Because knowing that there is so much potential, and when I say so much potential, I see young people joining the job market. My youngest daughter, she's about 25 now, joined the job market. Knowing that at that age, we call ourselves adults at that age. However, if we were to look at the developmental stages, we talk about the psychosocial stage, we talk about the cognitive development stage, the belief stages. We are still at the early stage, right? So meaning to say, if you in your organization, you have people who are in the 20s, they are not fully developed yet. So to be excited about, wow, what is the kind of development that is going to come out from this person? Instead of, oh no, you are not performing to your best yet. So when they are in the 30s, you notice, oh, some more development coming in, and people continue in their development into their 40s, into the 50s, and when you become an old guy like me, I'm still developing. In that sense. So to be able to appreciate that people are developing, and when we as leaders lead from the coaching framework, we are accepting and appreciating the the competencies that people have in the moment, and we are also stimulating their growth so that they can perform higher meanings and better performances as they develop new skills and competencies. So that is what we are referring to as enlightened leadership. Leadership from the perspective that we are enlightened about human potentials, and we have the skills in order to help people to develop those potentials, and that creates that win-win relationship, meaning to say, with your potentials you are bringing the achieving the organizational goals. At the same time, through coaching, you are becoming the better person that you can be. Okay, so I
Thank you
guess
very
that's
much,
about.
Mr. Marzuki. Yes, that was a very enlightening seminar, at least for me, and I'm sure our other viewers have found it as such. Thank you. Thank you for your
Thank you.
contributions.
Definitely. One of the remarks I had before we go is how exciting it is to bring up the potential in some 20-year-olds' personality. I think it's a different point of view as well that I haven't thought of before, too. It must be exciting. So thank you very much for this webinar. Hocam,
Thank you.
Associate Professor Dr. Sayem, Hocam, thank you.
Thank you for the
Marzuki,
opportunity.
yes, it has been
Thank
a
you.
great webinar. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you,
Bye
Mr.
bye.
Marzuki.
Thank you.
Yes, bye-bye.
Study Box